What's going on, guys? So, something a little bit different on the channel today. Actually, a lot different on the channel today. Now, most YouTubers, I'm sure you guys are aware, get offered randomly to review products for different companies and things of that nature. And usually, to be totally honest with you, from what I've seen, it's useless stuff. It's stuff that, you know, most of the YouTubers that I know actually decline doing their reviews on them because there's no purpose in it whatsoever. However, I was contacted the other day by a very, very nice woman in China named Bonnie, and she asked me if I would do a product review for them. So they actually sent me a product for free for the purpose of doing a review on it. Now, it's not going to bias my opinion. We're going to do a review on this product today, and we're going to do an honest review. We're going to see if it lives up to the hype that's on the box. We're going to see if it actually performs like it does. And now the only reason that I agreed to review this product is because I think it's useful. I think it's something that each one of you guys as car guys could use or keep in your vehicles just in case. Now what I'm talking about is this little guy here. Now we've all seen him. This one happens to be manufactured by a company called Audew, A-U-D-E-W. I'll put a link down in the description to the website and also to the link so you can purchase it. Now, this is a twin-cylinder, battery-operated, aka 12-volt battery, cigarette lighter, air compressor that you can keep in your vehicle to use whenever you have a flat tire or whatever. Now, my assumption of this, before we even get into the review, is that it's going to be your typical air compressor. You can buy these at Walmart. You can buy these everywhere. There's all different brands of them. There's all different, you know, models and sizes and everything else. Well, this one happens to be slightly different. This one has twin cylinders, and they're claiming, the claim on this is that you can pump up a 195/15 tire from 0 to 35 psi in 2 minutes or less. That is the actual claims. Now, I think it says here with a huge 50 liters per minute at 30 psi. Yeah, we'll easily pump up a 10R15 off-road tire from 15 to 32 psi in 1 minute, and then comfortably continue to do so for 5 of your mates' vehicles as well before there's a chance of the thermal shutdown switch kicking in. So now, we're going to do some testing with this thing. I'm going to unbox it first so that you guys can actually see it. We'll go over it real quick, and then, you know, we'll put it to the test and see how it goes. So here we go. Alright guys, so we're going to pull this thing out of the package and see what we got. So first we have our instruction sheet. And our instruction sheet is mostly in Chinese. Now in brief, the compressor exerts wide ranges of use such as tire of vehicle, auto engines and bicycles, balls, toys, and boats. It's good for emergency needs when you're on the highway, encounter side road, or rush for office in the morning. Wow. This English is definitely terrible. Very brief instructions. Plug the power cord in the cigarette lighter receptacle. Start up the engine, turn on the switch. Push the connector of the compressor valve forward on the stem of the tire. The gauge will indicate pressure. So, your typical setup. Now, you get this nice little hose that has pretty decently long stretch to it. A little quick connector to actually connect to the compressor itself. And then, ooh, that's nice. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that is actually a screw-on fitting, so you don't have to sit there and hold this on the actual tire. You can screw it in. And then, of course, a 0 to 150 psi gauge. Alright, let's bring out the actual compressor. Let's see what we got. Oh, this is nice. Let's see if we can get it out of here. Alright, so we have an adapter. This is super nice, so you can clip right to the battery instead of having to go to your cigarette lighter, which sometimes if they're fused at anything less than a 30 amp, you might run the risk of blowing the fuse in your cigarette lighter. If you can at all, I would recommend clipping this directly to your battery. And here we go. Alright guys, there's the compressor itself. A nice little carrying handle on it that folds tight. Now these, I've already unboxed this before so that I could take a look at it before I reviewed it for you guys, but These cylinders are made out of cast aluminum, which is going to dissipate heat nicely. These top panels, however, I don't know if you can hear that. These top panels are all plastic, which, you know what, as far as longevity goes, might be a problem. But we'll get to it. We'll see how hot it actually gets. Now, you've got, obviously cylinder number 1, cylinder number 2. On this side of it here, you have a nice little air hose, which your actual air hose will connect to, like so. And then once all that's connected, you have your on-off switch right here. And then, of course, your cord. Now, the one thing I noticed about this is this cord actually seems like it might be just a bit short. So, if you've got a longer vehicle, like a pickup truck or something, this might be a little bit short. Now, the last feature on this, and these guys, these are super simple devices. There's nothing super complicated about these things, so don't be expecting some crazy in-depth review of it. But up here you have a little case. Then you have all your inflation tools. You have your air mattress inflation tools. You have your, beach ball inflation tool. Then you have a, soccer / basketball, football air needle to fill up those things. Nice little compartment for storing that little stuff. Now, overall, the build quality of this is your typical Chinese stuff. Not terrible, but not the greatest in the world. It's typical of this level of air compressor. I mean, these on Amazon right now, they're selling for, I think it's either $49.99 or $59.99. I'll give you guys the link so you can go check it out. Also, too, just please remember that even though this thing on the side of the box states that it'll, you can fill up your tire and 5 other tires at the same time, this has about a max on time of 30 minutes or so, and that's not going to get you much. I mean, if you're blowing up tires, you're probably talking, for a normal size vehicle tire nowadays, probably 10 to 15 minutes to fill the tire up. So, after you do 2 tires, this may overheat and go into protection, and then you'd have to let it cool down. But remember, these are oilless compressors. Any one of these that you buy, unless it's going to be like a Viair or some real high-end $400 or $500 compressor, you're going to get what you pay for. These are designed to help you out in a pinch. These aren't designed to be your daily banger air compressor for blowing up tires all day long. So for what it is, for 50 or 60 bucks, you're going to have to realize that that's what it is. It's not going to blow up 17 tractor trailer tires. And if you look on the reviews on Amazon, which I did before I actually started reviewing this, most of the reviews are good for the people who are using them, like, oh my god, I had a flat tire on the side of the road and this really got me out of a bind. Oh, I blew up all my kids' beach balls at the beach that day and it was great. The people that you are seeing leaving bad reviews are the people who are trying to blow up 100 PSI truck tires. They're trying to blow up way too much stuff. They're trying to inflate entirely too much with it and expecting way too much out of this. That's not what it's designed for. It's literally designed to get you out of a pinch, to save you in an emergency, to blow up a couple of balls so you can have fun for the weekend. And then, you stick it back in its nice little carrying case that it comes with and keep it in the back in the trunk of your car, and hopefully everything works out great. So what we're going to do is the specifications that are on this say maximum airflow 85 liters per minute. We really can't test that. Max voltage 13.8, max amp draw 30 amps, and that's what I was telling you about. If you're going to be using this in your car, I highly suggest clipping it to a battery instead of going through the cigarette lighter, because if this thing ends up under a pretty heavy load, you might blow the cigarette lighter fuse, so keep that in mind. Maximum working pressure is 150 psi. Now, that does not mean that this unit will actually pump something up to 150 psi. That means that this unit may be able to raise pressure from, like, let's say 140 to 150. But you know what? For 50 bucks, I'm not going to guess that this will get to 150 psi. We can test it, but we'll see. Maximum restart pressure is 200 psi, which means that this unit will restart and continue pumping as long as it's below 200 psi. Maximum ambient temp is 60 C. That's pretty hot. Minimum is negative 55. That's pretty cold. Maximum duty cycle time. This is what I was getting at, guys. 40 minutes at 40 psi at 24 C. So basically it's 70 degrees Fahrenheit. It'll run for 40 minutes pushing 40 psi. If you're higher than that, it's going to run for less time. If you're lower than that, it'll run for more time. It all depends on how hot this thing gets. So basically what we're going to test today is on their website, it states that you can, and in their instructions also, it states that you can pump up a 10 R15 tire, basically a 195 width tire, from 0 to 35 psi in 2 minutes. Now, I happen to have a car over there that's got a 205 tire, so I'm assuming if we can get this tire from 0 to 35 psi in 4 minutes, I think we'll be doing good. So I'm going to bring this over to the car now. We're going to stick it on the tire, we'll fire it up, I'll give you guys an idea of how loud it is and how quickly it actually pumps the tire up. So let's go do that now. Alright guys, so we've got the compressor hooked up to a car battery. I don't have a battery in this particular car, so I hooked it up to just a battery, which is a little under voltage because they want you to start the car when you're running this. So our times might be a little bit skewed, but what we're going to do is I'm actually going to take and put a timer here so that hopefully we can see how long this is going to take to pump up this tire. So what we're going to do is take the nozzle and screw it on here. And as you can see, the gauge right now is reading 0 psi. Let's get this plastic off of here. It's reading 0 psi. We want to get it to 35, which is right in between 25 and 50. So I'm going to start the timer, turn the compressor on. We're going to time lapse this and see how quickly it'll pump this tire up. So here we go. This is a 205 60 R15 tire, which is bigger than they stated in their instructions, but yet it inflated this tire from 0 psi to 35 psi in 2 minutes and 21 seconds. So not bad at all. Not bad, not bad, not bad. Now heat wise, it got lukewarm. The hose is probably the hottest part of this. The hose actually got pretty toasty. This rubber hose here that comes directly off of it, that's pretty hot. But the cylinders themselves, lukewarm. The motor, again, lukewarm. So this thing actually did pretty good. Alright guys, let's take it back to the bench. I'll give you my final thoughts on this thing, and yeah, we'll go from there. Alright guys, so final thoughts on this thing. Didn't get warm. Pumped the tire up from 0 psi, a 195 60/15 tire, from 0 psi to 35 psi in 2 minutes and 21 seconds. It does what it says it's going to do. Now, ruggedness, I don't know that you would buy this to be rugged. This isn't something that I would take off-roading and expect that it's going to blow up, 37-inch tires in the same amount of time. I ran it for 2 minutes and 21 seconds. The hose got hot, but none of the other components of this thing got hot. It actually stayed just fine. So, in my honest opinion, if you're spending 50 or 60 bucks on something like this, use it for what it's intended for. Blowing up tires in an emergency, somebody lets the air out of your tires, as a joke, whatever, you want to blow your tire up, you get a flat and your spare needs air in it, then this is perfect for that. Absolutely perfect. As far as it going to 150 psi, I don't know about that. The closest I was able to get, just basically blocking off the air nozzle, was about 80 to 85 psi was what I was seeing with it. So I don't know that it would actually hit 150 psi. I think it's capable of handling it, should you hook up to something that's got that kind of a pressure in it. but I don't think that this unit will actually deliver 150 psi, and it's not supposed to. I mean, if you're using this to blow up a tire that needs 150 psi, you need to rethink your priorities. So again, guys, use these for what they're for. In my opinion, for the price point that this is at, I have another compressor that's in my vehicle that I've had for years, and it is made by another company that's actually very well known. They're available pretty much everywhere at all your auto parts stores and everything else. And to be totally honest with you, to blow up the same tire, it takes about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes to blow up the same tire. So this twin cylinder blew up that same tire in 2 minutes and 21 seconds. Guys, I think this is worth it. So you know what I'm going to do, because I actually like this, and it seems to work very, very well, and I did some other off-camera testing as well just to kind of get an idea. I didn't want to give this thing a good review if it didn't deserve it, but it absolutely does. It is doing exactly what it's designed for. Nothing more, nothing less. The price point is right. It's available from Amazon. The representatives at the company that sent it to me have been very, very nice. They said they were going to send me the product. The product arrived in 2 days. So I have to give it to them. They've been very communicative. I don't like doing reviews of free stuff because I feel that you guys are going to think that I'm obligated to give it a good review, but I'm absolutely not. You know, if there were some changes that I would make on this thing, sure. If it's bouncing around in your car, that's just going to fall off of there. There's no actual, it's not held on by anything. It's just kind of pressed in there. So I would change that. The plastic caps up here, I would change those. I would make them aluminum. You know, I mean, that would increase the price a little bit, but if somebody decides they're going to run this thing for an hour straight, these might melt a little bit. This handle is good for carrying the weight, but if you look, it does shift quite a bit. So if it's shifting quite a bit, eventually it's going to loosen up. But again, you're only using this thing in emergencies. If you're using it as your daily banger compressor, you got a problem. Buy another compressor that's designed for that. This is not. The plastic feels like just your typical ABS. I don't see any external markings on it. I wouldn't go dropping this thing because you're probably going to break some of that plastic. But otherwise, it's pretty sturdy. I mean, you know, the plastic is literally just covers that surround the compressors. It does have, you know, some voltage ratings on the side, max amperage, max pressure. Tells you that, you know, if it reaches thermal cutoff and it shuts off because it got too hot, let it cool off for 15 minutes before using it again. And it even warns you, don't touch these fittings. Don't touch any of these fittings or the hose while you're, you know, inflating, because they get hot. And that's just normal. All of these compressors get hot. There is no oil cooling in these compressors. And anytime you compress air, it heats up. So you have to be careful with that, obviously. So all in all, if I were to rate this thing on a scale of 1 to 10 for its intended purpose, I'd probably give it about a 7 or an 8. Build quality could be just a hair better. Performance is perfect. Yeah, I'd probably 7.5, 8, somewhere around there I would rate this. Does exactly what it says it's going to do. I'm not sure about the longevity of this hose. These plastic hoses tend to get brittle and break, especially in super cold weather. So I don't know how long that would last. The gauge is a little cheap. I did measure accuracy. This gauge said 35 psi, and there was actually 34 psi in the tire with an actual, you know, precision gauge. So pretty close. Pretty close. I mean, you know, when you're on the side of the road, you really don't care what pressure's in it. You just want it to be drivable. So yeah, overall, guys, 7.5 is what I'm going to give this thing as a rating. Do I suggest buying it? Yeah, if you don't have anything in your car currently and you need, you know, to put something in there, or in your wife's car, just so you know that they're safe and they have a method of blowing things up, their tires and such, should they get a flat, this is absolutely something I would carry. It comes with this nice little carrying case. You know, once it's in the carrying case, you can just kind of throw it in your trunk. It's out of the way. And again, it's cheap insurance. So I'm going to give a link to the company. The company has a ton of automotive accessories. They have a lot of little, I want to say trinkety stuff, a lot of lighting and a lot of, you know, little things that go to your car. So the company does a lot of neat little stuff, including this compressor. They have a few others that have like a built-in jump box and a few other odds and ends. This is just a basic compressor with no frills, no features. I'll also provide the link down below to where you can buy this. As of the date of this video, they're still showing out of stock, but I've been told that they do come back in stock pretty quickly. So I would suggest ordering it. Again, read the reviews on it on Amazon. You'll see that the bad reviews, everybody that gave the thing a bad review is trying to do something with it that it was not intended for. So my rating is a 7.5, and I'm going to stick to that. It's a great little product, and yeah, so thanks for watching, guys. If you want to see me do more of these, I'm going to try to do some here and there. Little tools and stuff that I get that I think are really interesting, that I think you guys might be interested in. Yeah, so we'll keep doing it if you guys like it, and we'll go from there. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you on the next one. Have a great day.